gotten into the I get the pit corner here of Gamescom with Steven, who's the chief game designer on Formula 1 2011, and I guess doing a Formula 1 game every year is a little bit like reinventing the wheel every year, because you have to add something to the experience to make it, you know, worthwhile for the players.
Absolutely. I mean, and that's a key thing for us. It isn't just about updating it with the latest drivers and tracks and cars. It's always got to be more than that. So we sat down after 2010 and said, how do we justify a purchase for everybody else, a wide variety of players, just 12 months later? There's got to be something in here for everyone. And that took a lot of work and a lot of time, but I think it's really paying off now, and you'll see the real change between 10 and 11, all the new content. And this is a cool stage for developers, really, because we think you've got the foundations for 10, it has been hugely successful. Now what do we really want to put in the game? This is the fun part for us.
I think one of the differences between Formula 1 and other sports games is that other sports games come out at the beginning of the season, while you're coming out sort of towards the mid part or the end of the season, where you already have all the details of what's going on. And do you feel that that's a benefit to you, or would you like to be ready for the start of the first race?
I do feel as though ultimately it is a benefit, because like you're saying, you get to see the ups and downs of the different teams, how the Pirelli tyres have been behaving, the new rules, double DRS comes in, all these kind of things that you've got to pick up on by watching the season unfold and then replicating it in game. But it's also a fact that we can't actually get the game out any earlier. There's a lot of licensing that goes on, team approvals. Everybody thinks that we get to see all the liveries and the teams and know where all the drivers are going before the season starts. It doesn't. We're on the internet and we're watching TV just like everybody else, going, oh right, so that's what the new Mercedes looks like. Then we get the information after and we start building. So we're the same as the fans on that, in that extent.
I guess they're keeping their secrets close to
Absolutely. It doesn't even come to us, those things.
And you mentioned this, you touched on the fact that Formula 1 is an ever-evolving sport where the rules change every year. What would you say that the main, in terms of gameplay, what does these rules changes that are in place for this year, what does it mean for the experience?
I think the cool things for us are, fortunately, everything that they've added this season has been really positive in our view. There was a lot of debate as to how KERS would do coming back into the sport, DRS was changing the wing, a new tyre manufacturer, was that going to make a big difference? It's all combined to make the racing really exciting, which is exactly what you need for a game, so we're delighted with that. And we're also interested in the fact that you've got this KERS and you've got the DRS, the wing and the power, and what it means to the gamer in terms of new controls. If anybody can pick these new things up, it's gamers, absolutely. So what you'll find that players tend to do is go out onto the track, and then they're starting to use all these new toys too early before they're ready with the new car handling. They'll be spinning out just like the drivers were in Australia. So you get used to the new handling, and then you start to use the wing, then you start to use the power. And it's a really good feeling when you use those things as well.
So in other terms, what sort of new things are you adding, like into other than the actual rules and stuff?
Yeah, so way beyond all of those things, the things that everybody has to quite rightly expect because of the new season and the new rules. The big focus this year for us is multiplayer under the umbrella called Go Compete. So this is about trying to bring a variety of players together to play online. So friends ring one another or message one another and say, look, let's play a game this evening, or do a championship or whatever, let's go online. 2010 was pretty much about the single player experience. You could play multiplayer, but 2011 is all really, the big push is multiplayer. So we've got things like cooperative championships, so you and your friend can play as teammates at Mercedes, or you can be teammates at Force India throughout the season, doing practice and qualifying together and the races, trying to fight to be the #1, trying to help each other with the car setups, improve and upgrade the team throughout the year, try and win a constructor's title, and then one of you try and win the driver's title. And that's cool, and not enough racing games have done that. They're all about just jumping into a quick race and do 3 laps, whereas this is about you and your friend fighting for a team throughout the year. But in order to make that happen and make it enjoyable, we had to up the number of cars online. 2010 only had 12 cars online, that's half the grid. So we had a big push this year, and we've got 24 cars online, which is a huge thing for us to get working. That really means that co-op comes alive. We've also got split screen back. That's a massive thing for us this year. We've been surprised at how many people are asking about that. We've got that up and running in Dirt 3. We've taken a lot of their technology. We're finally able to deliver that back into Formula 1. That's a huge positive for us. We've also got a load of variety of things like multiplayer objectives. A lot of people say to us, can we split the lobbies up and the rooms up so the elite players play in one area and the new players play in a different one? We don't want to do that. We want to get more rooms full. We want the full kind of every car on track gets 16 players in multiplayer. So what we've tried to do is take some of the cool things from single player, the objectives that you get when you join a team. For example, you join one of the new teams, you're not expected to win races. The same thing happens in multiplayer. It looks at your rank, it looks at the car you're driving and some various other factors and says, we expect you to finish in 15th or 10th or 9th. And that's your objective. So if a new player overachieves, they get a lot more XP and their rank goes up. But if there's some elite players in there, the spotlight's on them, all the stress, and they've got to try and win the races. So we're trying to keep people together this year.
So in terms of multiplayer, you got the fans of Formula One, sim fans. They want the full experience, all the laps, and a long experience. But that sometimes contradicts a multiplayer experience, which also needs to be quick so that people can pick up and play. And so how do you strike that balance?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things we've always tried to do is make a simple deciding factor online so people know what kind of race they're going to get. So in 2010, and this is copied across into 2011, what we tried to do is under 20% race distances, which are typically, let's say, around 10 laps for an average track. Under that race distance, you don't have to do the pit stops. You can turn all the rules down. It can be a lot more relaxed. You can put equal performance on. Things are more simple, and it's get up and get online and play. And we also had this thing called sprint races where you can just jump into some quick races and compete. And at various times, everybody wants to do that. They just want to get online and have a quick race. That's what a lot of racing games do these days. But also with Formula One, and this is the big differentiator for us, you can play these slightly longer races, and I would actually go so far as to say they're more enjoyable than racing in 2010 because we've got all these cool things around strategy and tactics you can do in a race, whereas most racing games are about how quickly you can drive over 3 laps. For Formula One, that's about qualifying, but race is about having your own story or not being as quick as somebody else perhaps in a better car, but being better on the strategy or deciding at the right time. So what we find is people do these longer races, they finish and they go, wow, at the beginning of the race I decided to do this, I was saving fuel, I changed my tyres when you did that, and do you remember? People have got these cool stories, and that's normally really quite unheard of in racing games.
And also part of the Formula One experience that makes it so exciting, I guess. So how do you feel about the product right now and the last few miles to go before release?
Yeah. It's a weird stage for us because a lot of the guys are back in the studio still putting all the hours in, just finishing the game off now. And for us, we feel like we've been on this roller coaster of making Formula One games for 3 years because the first one took us 2. We spent another year on this one, and I can't believe that 2011 is almost out now. But we're really pleased in it because as soon as we finished 10, we started on 11. And the big difference this time has been you had an existing game. So when we're putting these new features in, this time around, you're able to sit down and play them in the office. And that means that whenever we don't like something or we're arguing amongst ourselves, we change those things and improve it into the next build of the game, try that out, keep refining it. And I think players will experience that difference in this game now. There's been a lot more time in refining and balancing the gameplay features, which has been brilliant. And the final thing that I want to make note of is you can tell when the game's going really well because people in the office are trying to find excuses to play it. 2010 was this mad rush, whereas 2011 has been, oh, I've made a small change, who's up for a race, let's have a race. That's normally unheard of. Developers get sick of their games by the end, but now we're always looking for an excuse to play it. So I'm looking forward to finally getting it out there.
Right, thank you very much for your time.